The movie begins in London, 1995, where Eleanor Young arrives at the Calthorpe Hotel with her son Nick, sister Felicity, and niece Astrid. When asking at the front desk for her reservation, the clerk and the manager, Reginald Ormsby, lie about not having her reservation for obviously racist reasons. Eleanor calls her husband, who then calls Lord Calthorpe, who is good friends with the Young family. Calthorpe comes downstairs to meet the Young family and tells Ormsby that he has sold the hotel to the Youngs, leaving him looking foolish. Eleanor's first act as owner is to order Ormsby and the clerk to wipe the mud that Nick left on the floor. Fast forward to New York in 2018. Rachel Chu is giving her economics class a lesson by having her play poker with a student whom she beats to the impression of the others. Afterwards, Rachel joins Nick, her boyfriend, for a meal. Nick tells Rachel he wants to take her to his hometown in Singapore for the wedding of his best friend, Colin Koo, which would be a great opportunity for Nick to introduce Rachel to his family. In the corner, two women from a blog site called Radionasia spot Rachel and Nick, and one of them snaps a picture of the two of them as she walks past them. This spreads at the speed of light in the Asian community until it makes its way to Eleanor, Nick's mother, who is with her sisters, and they start discussing Rachel. She calls Nick to ask about bringing his mysterious girlfriend with him for the wedding. Nick agrees that he is bringing his girlfriend Rachel. His mom responds by saying that he has Nick's room ready, but just for him. Nick then says that he and Rachel will be staying together at a hotel. Next, Rachel is with her mom, Carrie, and they discuss the fact that Nick has never really talked about his family. Rachel thinks they may be poor and that he's ashamed of that. Rachel's mom helps her choose a dress to wear to meet Nick's parents. She advises her to take the red dress since red is a symbol of good fortune and fertility. Rachel and Nick go to the airport where, to her surprise, they are placed in first class and their bags are checked in by the airport crew. Nick then reveals that his family does business with the airline and the tickets are a perk. Rachel then asks Nick if his family is rich, to which he responds, yes. Rachel then says that she thinks it's weird that Nick has never told her this before. She would want to know more so that she knows what she's getting into. Nick then tells Rachel about his cousins, with whom he shares the fortune. Alastair Cheng is a big-shot filmmaker and producer based in Taiwan who is dating his lead actress, Kitty Pong, though she is noted as being a terrible actress. Then there is Alastair's brother Eddie, a banker who is married to Fiona with 3 children, though he is obsessed with their image and is seen criticizing Fiona's dress choice because it's only good for Chinese Vogue and not American Vogue. Finally, there is Astrid, whom Nick describes as being a sweetheart. She is seen speaking to a little girl and complimenting her teddy bear before meeting with a jeweler to purchase earrings worth over $1 million. The couple arrives in Singapore, where they are picked up by Colin and his fiancée, Araminta Lee. They go around the city and indulge in local food that Rachel hasn't tried before. Araminta tells Rachel that she has never seen Nick as happy as he is with Rachel. In Astrid's home, she returns home and tells her housemaids to hide all the expensive things she bought because she doesn't want her husband to see them. She doesn't want her husband to feel bad because he always feels insecure about having married a rich girl who is the main provider of the family. Astrid is reading a bedtime story to her son Cassian when she hears her husband Michael come in and take a shower. Later, her husband tells her that she doesn't have to hide her expensive items from him since everyone already knows that she is the one who wears the money pants in the family. The next morning, Rachel goes to visit her old college roommate, Paik Lin Go, whose family is also very wealthy, but more new money than Nick's family. Rachel meets Paik Lin's parents, Wai Mun and Nina, and her 3 siblings. When Rachel mentions that she's dating Nick Young, everyone drops what they're doing out of shock. They inform Rachel just how rich the Youngs are, as they are the biggest real estate developers in the area, as well as in other parts of the world. Rachel tells Paik Lin of a party the Youngs are throwing that evening at Nick's grandmother's home, and Paik Lin takes out some fresh clothes for Rachel to wear. Rachel and Paik Lin arrive at the glamorous estate, and Nick invites Paik Lin to stay and enjoy the party. Nick brings Rachel around to meet some of his relatives, including his cousins and aunts, before taking her to meet Eleanor and then his grandmother, Shang Su Yi. Almost instantly, the family looks down upon Rachel for not coming from money like the rest of them. Rachel tells Eleanor how her mother is a single self-made woman working in real estate and how she is an economics professor and that her father died before she was born. Eleanor frowns upon this, viewing ambitions as being very American and quite unnecessary. Elsewhere in the party, Astrid is with Michael before he leaves the room. She looks at his phone and reads a text from another woman saying, "The bed feels empty without you." She finds out that her husband is having an affair. Still at the party, Rachel freaks out at how Nick's relatives didn't like her and she ends up pouring a drink on Nick's shirt. Nick has to change, but before he goes, he introduces Rachel to Oliver, who promises to take care of her. Oliver tells Rachel that he is the poorer cousin and his job is to procure whatever people need from him. Later, Nick introduces Rachel to his grandma, who seems to like Rachel. She even offers to show Rachel how to make dumplings. The next day, Rachel joins Araminta and her friends for her bachelorette party, while Nick joins his cousins and their gaudy, rich schoolmate Bernard Ty for Colin's bachelor party. The bachelor party takes place on a freight ship, which has pools and a dance floor. Eddie criticizes Nick for choosing Rachel, seeing her as merely a commoner, and noting to Colin that his own family wouldn't have accepted Araminta were she not from a wealthy family herself. Nick and Colin leave the party and head to a spot to relax, where Nick reveals an engagement ring that he plans to use to propose to Rachel. Colin notes that Nick already stunned his family by not returning the year earlier to inherit their company, and to marry Rachel would mean walking away from his inheritance. Meanwhile, the ladies are on an island where Araminta treats them to a shopping spree and a spa day. Rachel meets one of Araminta's friends, Amanda Ling, who then reveals herself as Nick's ex-girlfriend and starts trying to subtly play with Rachel's feelings. Rachel leaves the spa feeling sad and unwanted when she overhears the other girls making snide comments about her. She runs into Astrid, who tries to comfort her, but they then find a dead, gutted fish on Rachel's bed in her room with "Catch this, you gold-digging bitch" written on the window in blood. Astrid helps Rachel bury the fish on the beach that night as the other women dance and drink. Astrid then confides to Rachel that Michael is having an affair. The two of them sit together and comfort each other. When they reunite, Rachel tells Nick about what happened with the other women, and she is more upset that he didn't tell her about any of his past, but he feels none of it mattered. He later brings Rachel to Eleanor's house so that she can learn how to make dumplings the way Suye taught Nick how to do so. Rachel then notices Eleanor's ring, which she says Nick's father made to propose to her. Eleanor then tells Rachel that she quit law school to raise her family. Before Rachel even says anything, Eleanor attacks Rachel in front of everyone and tells her that whatever Rachel considers old-fashioned is a privilege. She calls out Rachel's stereotypically American pursuit of passion instead of family. Later, Grandma walks in and says hello to Rachel. She says that Rachel is very beautiful, and then she criticizes the dumplings made by Nick's mom. We see that Grandma is not very fond of Nick's mom. Later, as Rachel is trying to find the restroom, Eleanor finds her and clarifies that the ring her husband gave her was made only because Grandma did not initially approve of Eleanor and refused to give her son the family ring. Eleanor then makes it firmly clear to Rachel that she will never be good enough for Nick. On their way back, Rachel is heartbroken, but she doesn't tell Nick what his mother told her. Rachel has lunch with Peek Lin and says that she may skip the wedding because she worries she may cause drama among Nick's family. Peek Lin convinces Rachel to stand up to Eleanor and earn her respect. She then brings Rachel back to her house to pick out a nice outfit for the wedding with the help of Nick's cousin Oliver. On the way to the wedding, Astrid confronts Michael about his affair. Michael tries to turn it around on her for making him feel inferior with her constantly buying expensive items, and he gets out of the car to leave her to attend the wedding alone. Rachel turns up at the wedding and impresses everyone with her dress, and even manages to stun Amanda, Nick's cruel ex, who put a dead fish in her room when she tells her she's in her way. Eleanor and her sisters note that Princess Intan is there, and that she requested a whole row to herself so nobody could bother her. Eleanor and her sisters tell Rachel that there is no space for her to sit with them and that she should find somewhere else to sit. To their surprise, Rachel approaches Intan and talks to her about how she read an article about her and that Rachel admires how she spent her wealth. Intan takes a liking to Rachel and asks Rachel to sit with her. Nick's friend informs Nick that Rachel is not sitting with his family. Nick responds by saying that he doesn't blame her because his family has been cruel to her. He is shocked when his friend shows him that Rachel is actually sitting at the very front with the princess. He then tells Nick that his girlfriend is a fighter. Nick is very proud of Rachel. The wedding then goes on, with Nick and Rachel staring at each other, showing how they are madly in love. As the bride is walking down the aisle, Nick stares at Rachel and tells her that he loves her. With tears flowing down her cheeks, Rachel responds that she loves Nick too. During the reception, Eleanor orders Oliver to stop Alistair and Kitty from humping each other on the dance floor. Oliver cuts in and sends Alistair away before dancing with Kitty and telling her that if she married Alistair, she would have to wait because he's fourth in line to his family's fortune, while Bernard is the sole heir to his family's business. Kitty immediately goes to Bernard. Meanwhile, Rachel and Nick are called to meet with Eleanor and Grandma Suyi. Eleanor reveals she hired a private investigator to dig into Rachel's past, and it turns out that Rachel's biological father is still alive, but that Rachel's mother was previously married to another man before she cheated on him with Rachel's father and fled to America. Rachel didn't have any of this information. Nick is furious at Eleanor, and Rachel tells Eleanor that she wants no part of her family runs away from the party. His grandma warns Nick not to follow Rachel, but Nick doesn't care. He follows Rachel, but doesn't catch up to her. Rachel runs to Peeklin's home and cries. She stays with Peeklin, depressed in her bedroom. The following morning, Rachel is surprised to find Carrie, her mother, showing up at the house. When Rachel brings up the matter of her father, Carrie explains that her original husband was abusive to her, and she took comfort with a school friend who later got her pregnant with Rachel. Fearing that her husband would kill them all if he found out, Carrie fled to America. She also reveals that it was Nick who called her out of concern for Rachel. Michael packs his bags to leave, but Astrid says she is instead taking Cassian with her to live in one of her other apartments. She tells Michael she can't expect him to act like a man because he isn't one. She then takes the earrings she bought earlier but hid from Michael, and she finally wears them. Rachel decides to meet Nick in the city by the water. Nick apologizes to Rachel and proposes, willing to abandon his family to be with her, but Rachel says no. Eleanor goes to a spot downtown where people are playing mahjong after Rachel invites her. Rachel tells Eleanor that she turned down Nick's proposal because she doesn't want to be the reason that his family disowns him, but she notes that if he chose them over her, Nick might spend the rest of his life resenting Eleanor. Eleanor says, "Only a fool folds a winning hand." At the same time, Rachel draws a mahjong tile, which would complete her hand and win her the game. She replies that she loves Nick so much that she is willing to sacrifice her happiness for his, and to remember that when Nick finds someone else in the future whom Eleanor approves of and is happily married, Eleanor should remember that it was Rachel, just a daughter of an immigrant and a nobody, who made it all possible. Making use of her expertise in game theory, she hands Eleanor the mahjong tile that lets her win and reveals that she could have kept the tile for herself and claimed victory. She has thus demonstrated her willingness to place family over self. She then leaves with her mother, who then takes a moment to give Eleanor a hard glare. Eleanor then goes home and has a heart-to-heart discussion with her son. Rachel and Carrie prepare to leave to go back to New York, but Nick shows up on the plane to try and talk to Rachel. He explains what his ideal proposal would have been, but he doesn't care about it because he loves her so much and would give up his whole fortune just to spend the rest of his life with her. Nick proposes once again on the airplane, but this time with Eleanor's ring. After the meeting Eleanor had with Rachel, Eleanor gave her blessing to Nick and Rachel by giving Nick her ring. Rachel says yes this time. Everyone cheers as she and Nick share a big kiss. Nick tells Rachel that he would like them to stay just one more night. Nick later surprises Rachel with an engagement party on a rooftop with all of their friends and family attending. Eleanor is also present. Rachel and Nick kiss as fireworks explode across the sky. Astrid meets a man named Charlie Wu, and there appears to be sparks between them.